Previously on Libel the Bible.
The mayor of New York City encourages us to sexually harass people who are just trying to eat.
And Scott thinks the women are asking for it.
Rusty gives step-by-step directions on how to perform the old dick in the popcorn trick.
Scott learns that making fun of people who are still on fire may be inappropriate.
Nathan famously delivers to David a warning from the Lord.
Will the child die?
The child will die.
Did the child die?
The child is dead.
Ignoring every other detail about biblical stories, Scott obsesses over Canaanite home decor and living spaces.
David's son rapes David's daughter.
But it's okay, because she was really beautiful.
And now, episode 87 of Libel the Bible.
Yeah, all right. Well, I hit record, so I'm glad that you're ready.
Damn, now I gotta put my money where my
Now you
mouth
got to think of
is.
something smart to say.
Words. Bob Barker died, man.
I know, Bob Barker died.
Yeah.
I'm Rusty,
I'm Scott.
and this is Libel the Bible.
I'm neutered and you're spayed. See, Bob Barker used to say that at the end of every Price is Right episode.
Somebody said that, he died. He was 99. They were like, he died as close to 100 as he could without going over.
That seems to be like a celebrity thing. Didn't like
No, because I'm saying that's like a thing on the Price is Right. You don't go
yeah,
over.
I got it. Rewind that, man. Rewind that.
That's
Let's look
all
at it
right.
again, man.
That's all right. For all the jokes that you say that I ignore, that was fine. You got to pass on that.
Yeah, but you
one.
ignored. I completely didn't even get the joke. Like I was paying attention. Like you don't pay attention. That's why.
Well, I think the audience has come to expect a certain level of intellect from you, so.
my neighbor, she had a beagle, and his name was Bob Barker.
Because he was a barker.
Yeah, I guess,
And,
yeah.
did she get it neutered or spayed?
I'm sure she did. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I'm glad you brought up Bob Barker. By the way,
Which is funny.
Famous sexual harasser. Like the ladies on the show?
Yeah, I heard about them.
Yeah, so, she wrote, a tell-all. He was apparently really, handsy and
That's funny
gross
because
backstage.
I was right up to previously on watching the new news, and they were actually interviewing some of the ladies, and they had nothing but the greatest things to say about them.
Really? Well, ask Janice Dickinson.
Yeah.
I don't think she has a lot of good
Dick
things
and
to say.
Son.
I don't even know if it's Janice Dickinson. It's one of those
Wasn't she a porn star?
Dick and Son. That sounds like biblical,
Yeah.
There's been a lot of dicks and sons.
Yeah. Has there been a lot? Not a lot.
I mean, not overtly, but if you read between the lines.
Yeah, and by lines we mean butt cracks.
By lines, we mean the people that were doing coke when they wrote this book. Because only a coke fiend would be like, yeah, this is a good idea, right? Yeah.
Yo, you saw what happened, right? The fucking water was up the fucking ear.
Fucking talking donkey, man. That's
my
what's
God.
missing. A talking donkey's going to tie
Noah.
everything
Yo,
together.
Thank God for Noah. Yeah. All right.
All right, we came in hot.
Came in hot. Didn't know we were hot, though.
But one of the things that you liked about the last episode was the lower energy level.
It was
that we
low
had.
energy. When we were
Yeah.
recording it, I wasn't really feeling it. But then when I listened back, I liked the level of energy
liked
that it
it.
was. Yeah, I did.
I
I'm
liked
not
it
saying
too.
every episode has to be that level of energy, but when I was cleaning my kitchen, doing the dishes, listening to it, it was a nice level of energy.
I was driving home from Long Island, and my wife and I were listening to it, and we were both laughing. It was a good episode.
Nice.
I enjoyed it.
I'd like to hear when an outside party,
An outside
finds
party,
it,
yeah.
finds something to say, finds it funny, because maybe people could leave us more feedback. I like that.
So I do want to thank our listeners for subscribing to our YouTube channel for sure. So
Nice.
since we first announced YouTube that we'd revamped it and we're updating it, and we asked people to go and subscribe, people have gone and subscribed. We went from a dormant 22 subscribers. The channel's 2 years old. I stopped updating it. 22 subscribers, had been there for a year and a half. And since that call to action, we've gotten up to 49 subscribers on our YouTube channel. So that's more than double. So that's great. We want to thank everybody for doing that. And if you're listening and you're not subscribed to our YouTube channel, you should go and subscribe to our YouTube channel. And we're going to start leaving polls on our YouTube.
Stripper bowls?
That would be nice. If anybody in our audience wants to volunteer, maybe iodine. Maybe, I mean, no, you don't think iodine?
No, I don't think you should ask our
What?
the one person that gave us feedback to do such a thing.
Well, she's into it, obviously. Who would you ask? Someone that's not leaving feedback?
Yeah, I guess you're right.
Why do you think she left feedback?
Oh, right.
She probably wants it. They all want it.
All right, Mayor Adams.
If you're just driving by and someone leaves a comment, that means that she wants you to go over and talk to her.
Yeah, pull that car over. Get up in that shit on the sidewalk.
Well, he's Gandhi. Like, he says, what would Gandhi do? Gandhi would stop his car and go and talk to a woman.
Speaking of Mayor Adams, can we segue into Mayor Adams for a second?
Yes. Well, yes.
So, it's twofold. So I was coming home at night the other night on the Belt Parkway. Was I coming? I was in Queens, on the Queens side of the Belt Parkway. Yo, it was fucking beyond the Thunderdome over there.
Yeah.
Yo, there are no rules on the road anymore.
No.
There were like 4 cars easily.
So for people that don't know, the Belt Parkway is a highway that runs along the southern border of like what is all of Long Island. All of Long Island being Brooklyn, Queens, and then like Long Island, the Belt Parkway becomes the Southern State Parkway. So basically it's like this giant stretch of road
and
in
it's nice
southern
and curvy.
Brooklyn and Queens.
Yeah, it's very curvy. It's along the coast.
3 lanes each way. So it's a highway.
Yeah. It's very curvy. It's all urban, and it's always packed.
There's
it's always
constant
crowded.
exits.
Yeah,
it's always packed. It's not like it's not an interstate where like exits are like 15 miles apart or 20 miles apart. It's like every mile and a half there's an exit, and like you could do 55 if traffic is moving okay.
Yeah. And you want to swim through it.
But the problem is most people are either doing 35 or 95. Like there's no in between. Am I wrong?
You're not wrong. And to the TNLC drivers listening, please increase the highway speed.
Oh my
please.
God. So getting back to Mad Max Thunderdome.
Right. So there's 4 cars swimming through traffic, and
there's guys hanging out of windows with chains, fucking
nunchucks. Some asshole always has nunchucks. All right. So the traffic.
An old-timey hockey mask.
So these cars are swimming through traffic. People doing, like you said, 30 miles an hour. It's a shit show. And then
it's stressful.
I hear like somebody's got like a moped or something on here.
Yeah.
So this bike, like it's a mini bike. It's not like a motorcycle nor a moped. It's something in between, right?
That's another thing that's happening now. Like all of these vehicles on the road that like should not be on the road.
Oh, it's like Thailand out there.
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
So, and I'm like, what is that, right? And I see this feet literally 2 inches from the asphalt. Like, it's someone on the back. I don't even realize it's someone on the front, right? So, got to the point where I came alongside this person, and the person driving, I think, was like a 15-year-old girl without a helmet on. Mm-hmm. The person in the back on the Belt Parkway weaving through traffic on what I don't even know what this thing was. Yeah. No license plates, nothing. Half the cars didn't have license plates. So it's Mad Max out there. So I was thinking, I was like, somebody's got to do something about this. Where is the mayor? Where is the mayor calling the police to action to like patrol our streets? And then I found out where the mayor was, Russ. Because I got an email from the mayor. Because he says, "Dear Scott," I get an email like once a week from him. I'm somehow signed up to his notes or whatever, his logs that he sends out. And greetings from overseas. And he goes on and on, talk about how he's in Tel Aviv and touring Israel. Why?
You got an email from the mayor?
I got an email from the mayor, man.
Because you registered for like emails from the mayor, or because you're a registered Democrat? Like, why are you getting?
It comes from NewYorkCity.gov, so I must have gotten on some mailing list just by signing up for a service or something.
So you want to know why he's in Israel instead of taking care of like business at home when there are like safety issues in New York?
Yeah, him specifically, and I want to know why. I was pretty civically minded for a while, so I used to go to civic meetings, right? And we had our local politician come by, and he's like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I know I was supposed to be here last month, but I just got back from Israel," and like boasting about how he was in Israel.
Yeah.
So I raised my hand, of course, and the person next to me pulled my hand down. Like, we'll talk about this later. Yeah. And what is the need for American politicians to go to Israel?
It's multi-layered. So you have your evangelicals.
Yes.
That's number one. They believe like Israel is the promised land. That is where Jesus will return. That is where the rapture will occur. Like Israel is, and like they believe that by helping Israel, we are helping like the cause of Christianity. So that's a huge thing right there. In New York specifically, you have not only people like that, but then you have Jewish people in New York, right? You have not only the Hasidic community, not only the Orthodox community, but you have the secular Jewish community who have ties, either emotional ties with Israel or actual family in Israel.
Right.
Same thing with Soviet Jews, former Jews from, the former Soviet Union, who have ties to Israel. So in New York City, there's a large vote. So to answer your question, voting bases.
Right.
You have to pander to voting bases.
Right. So for those of you who don't know, New York City has the largest Jewish population outside of Israel.
I think we have more Jewish people than Israel.
I think we did, and then
it shifted.
Israel has that thing every once in a while, like they come home to Israel thing, where they, what do you call that?
I don't know.
They send it out to the diaspora, and they ask Jews to come home, and they apparently.
I think that's like an always thing. Like, I think we're always welcome there.
I think maybe they had a big push a couple years ago, and I think a lot of people went back to Israel or went to Israel for the first time and stayed. So I think you were right, but I think
new homes in the West Bank, freshly bulldozed.
Ouch. So yeah, I just wanted to complain that like our politicians need to stay here and do their job here. They can send $1 billion to Israel or Ukraine, but do it from here. So at least give the impression that you're doing your job. You're the New York City mayor.
You know who's not doing their job, Scott? The NYPD isn't doing their job.
They're not, man.
You know why all that's going on the roads? Because they aren't working anymore. Because they're like, oh, we can't like choke you to death anymore? Fine.
Yeah.
So now they're all like on subway platforms playing like Candy Crush in groups of like 15. They're like seagulls. They group together and like hang out all day, and they don't work.
I swear I don't see them anymore. The NYPD is composed of more police officers than the Coast Guard has.
It's an army. It's an army.
It's a legit army. Yeah,
they're massive.
I don't see them.
They're nowhere to be seen. Certainly not in patrol cars anymore. I don't see them driving around. I don't see them anywhere. And they used to be ubiquitous.
Yeah.
And there's not less of them.
No.
There's more than ever.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's more than ever. You just don't see them anymore because they are throwing the biggest fucking adult tantrum ever over BLM.
Or maybe we're getting old and weird. Because when we were younger, we were always on the lookout for the motherfuckers. And now we're older, like, hey, back in our day, we're the fucking police.
Let me tell you something,
So maybe it's because we're not looking for them anymore, man.
I'm still on the lookout for them, all right? I'm into some shady shit. I'm still on the lookout.
Yeah, so, yeah. That's really the whole thing about not doing your job. Like, what? I thought it was more along the lines of not even that, like, they don't get their respect anymore. Right? They don't get respect on the job. And I'm like, welcome to the rest of the fucking workforce. Who the fuck gets respect on their job?
I like how they're like, it's a hard job. Like, there's all these excuses. Oh, it's only a few bad apples. Meanwhile, the saying is, a few bad apples spoil the bunch.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, that's the saying. So, yes, a few bad apples spoil the bunch. When there's a few bad apples and you're protecting them and you're shielding them and you're not doing anything about them, then you're just as bad of an apple and you're a fucking enabler and you're part of the fucking systemic problem. And you need to go just as much as they do.
Yeah.
When I was teaching, if I knew about a teacher who was abusing their power with a student and then I covered that up,
yeah.
you know what I mean?
Didn't they have some guy like was with little boys in the shower and like people heard it and just like left the room, like left the locker room, like
in school?
Sadusky? Is it Sadusky?
Oh yes, at Penn State.
Yeah, like people knew and they totally covered that shit up.
Hundreds of boys
Crazy.
over like decades, and it was known by Joe Paterno, that piece of shit scumbag.
Yeah.
He's like a hero. Fuck that guy.
Yeah.
He allowed the abuse of fucking hundreds of fucking underprivileged boys.
Yeah.
What a piece of shit.
So many pieces of shit.
Speaking of religious people, I got a question for you, Scott. All right. A new poll was conducted. They asked this every year since 1990, or I have statistics since 1990. What percentage of American adults do you think said in the affirmative to this particular prompt? Quote, I know God really exists and I have no doubts about it. So, people were asked, yes or no? I know God really exists and I have no doubts about it. What do you think the percentage of Americans who said that was in 2021? I don't have the 2023 stat.
All right, without drawing it out, asking you like, what demographic did they go after? Blah, 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 blah. I'm gonna say
American adults.
I'm gonna say 30%.
Oh, wow. No, many more than that. 49.7% of American adults said, I know God really exists and I have no doubt about it. That is a record low, by the way. That is the first time since the question's been asked that it's dipped below 50%. To give you a perspective, in 1994, it was nearly 70%. So nearly 70% of Americans in 1994 said, I know God really exists and I have no doubts about it. And then you know what happened, Scott? And then the internet came around and people started reading shit and seeing shit. And they were like, oh my God, there is no God.
See, just by the fact
when they saw Goat say, do you know about Goat say? You don't know Goat say.
I know about Donkey Says.
I'm going to have to send you Goat say. For those that don't know, go look up Goat say.
Is it spelled like weird?
You'll find it. You'll find it.
All right. So we're making progress, but we obviously have a lot more work to do.
We're making well, when you say we, do you mean you and I?
Yeah, you and I.
Oh, we're making progress.
Yeah.
You think it's because of us? Like you think like...
Well, the internet came out, right? Mm-hmm. We're on the internet.
We are.
So we are responsible for that number to coming down.
Yes. I like your logic, Scott. Yeah. You know what I like about it? You don't really have to go through any of like the rigorous like steps or processes to like get to the final conclusion.
Why would I go to college, learn something, double proof, double blind
Scott,
study something, and like just to have some guy on the internet say bullshit? Yeah,
right. Make an assumption, and then leapfrog to the conclusion.
Yeah. The fuck am I gonna do tests and shit on that assumption?
Listen, I have the right to my opinion, as uninformed or dumb as it is, as you, who have read about the subject and know about the subject.
Right.
Right?
What subject?
Any subject. It's a comedy show, Scott, and I'm saying that you are well-read and know things.
But wait a minute, that's not really true. Oh, that's the joke.
Yeah, that's the joke.
Yeah, I got it, man.
I
got it, man.
I know.
Speaking of jokes, this book
You got another Maui joke?
No, I do not. I'm gonna bring the jokes in for a while. Just so to give my creative juices a rest. Not because I didn't think I did anything wrong, and I need to be stay out of the spotlight for a while. I just need to recharge my batteries, man.
I know. So you were saying, speaking of jokes,
I was gonna say, this book we're reading, huh?
By the way, I'm reading a book, and it's super fucking interesting, and it happened in America, and I never knew about it, and it's crazy that I never knew about it. And it goes to show you more examples of white fucking privilege and white supremacy.
I was gonna say 50 years from now, you could say that about slavery. Like, dude, did you know there was slavery in America?
Well, that I knew.
Well, 50 years from now, people will not know that.
So there was a tribe of Indians living in Kansas, the Osage, and they were living on good land, and they got their shit kicked off into northeastern Oklahoma onto shit land.
Of course.
So the white settlers took over in Kansas, and they started farming because they're dumb fucking hick rednecks. And so the fucking Native Americans...
no supermarkets yet, man.
Where, in Kansas?
Anywhere at that time.
So my brother-in-law went to boarding school in Kansas, and the name of the town in German literally meant the place where the wagon broke down. All right.
Ah.
So they weren't even like the industrious enough ones to make it out west with like the rest of them. Their shit broke down and they were like, fuck it. So that's like, those are the descendants of those people. So let's get that straight. So these Indians get kicked off onto land in northeast Oklahoma, and they're living in extreme poverty. And then, like, they start like these schools where they're forcing like Indian kids to go to school to learn like English and to become like white, basically, like the mannerisms of white people and all that. So for like 30, 40 years, they're living on this shit land. And then all of a sudden, wouldn't you know, they find a little oil there.
I feel like we didn't talk about this?
So the government signs a fucking I don't remember talking about this.
Yeah.
So the government signs a contract with them saying, like, we'll give you, like, each of you, like, a share of, like, the oil, whatever. And they're like, all right. And then it turns out there's a shit ton of oil. And so these Indians become per capita the richest people on the planet. Like, they're super ultra wealthy, this entire tribe of Indians. The Osage, okay?
Wait, how did the whites not renege that contract as soon as they saw it?
There was so much oil, like, the whites were that much richer.
Oh, okay. All right.
So these fucking Indians were driving around
These
in
fucking Indians.
in Rolls Royces. And by the way, I say Indian because most of them prefer Indian to Native American. And I know this because my wife is from New Mexico, and she went to school with many Indians, and like she's still in touch with a lot of them, and so she's like Indian adjacent to be able to like tell me. Anyway, so these Indians are being chauffeured in Rolls Royces by like white people, and white people are like their servants. So it's quite scandalous. All right. Then in the 1920s, they start getting killed.
Wait. What year were these Rolls Royces?
In like the 1920s and the 1910s, 1920s. And so they start getting killed. Like some of them start getting shot. One couple has their entire house like blown up, like severely blown up. There's like over 20 murders that start occurring on this reservation of these people, poisonings. And so the book is it's called The Killers of the Flower Moon, the Osage County murders. And so this is when the FBI was still called the Bureau of Investigation, and the Teapot Dome scandal had just happened, where there was like a whole bunch of like patronage shit that went on, and the Bureau of Investigation was like heavily linked to it. And J. Edgar Hoover was like the undersecretary. He was like in his 20s, and his boss got fired. So J. Edgar Hoover wound up getting promoted after this Teapot Dome scandal to like the head of the Bureau of Investigation. And so his first case was investigating like these murders that were occurring. And it's crazy that I never knew about this.
That is crazy.
Martin Scorsese just made like a movie about it. That's like how it got on my radar.
It's going to suck then.
Because it's Scorsese, right? And he's fucking terrible.
Crap he cranks out.
He makes the worst shit.
Fucking hack.
Fucking dickhead.
Really? So, well, listen, I didn't know about Black Wall Street until like last year.
So what's crazy is this is 1921 is when Black Wall Street happened, and Black Wall Street was literally in Oklahoma. Right? And this place was in fucking northeast Oklahoma, and like the two towns were not fucking far apart, and like they started occurring at the same time.
And none of those people were involved in both, right? Yeah, find that hard to believe.
Listen, we're not saying that's what happened. We're just asking questions and saying that's what happened.
Oklahoma is okay.
I mean, if you're a white supremacist.
Yeah,
by the way, do you know that the Supreme Court just said that the Native Americans in Oklahoma like cannot be governed by the laws of Oklahoma?
Really?
Yes.
You mean on the reservation?
No. I mean, in Oklahoma, the Supreme Court said that the state laws of Oklahoma have no governance over the sovereignty of tribal people of Oklahoma.
What's next, man? Drinking out of my fucking water fountain? Dating my daughter?
Yeah.
Voting?
An Indian can just walk
Those
into your
people will
house
take your
and
job
slap
soon.
you around, man.
Well, there's still...
Take your land.
Well, there's still the law of getting your ass kicked if you fucking...
How dare these Indians take our land like that?
How long ago was this decision made?
Like a year and a half, 2 years ago. It's being like challenged now, but
Was it still liberal over there in the courts?
no, that's what's crazy.
That is crazy.
I think like Clarence Thomas wrote like the majority opinion in like favor of the Native Americans.
Wow.
Because he can't write.
How'd you know I was saying wow to that?
Is famously fucking stupid.
Yeah.
I mean, relatively speaking, not like stupid like if he was hanging out at your yacht club, but like stupid like in the context of like, being on the Supreme Court of the United States.
So, as a Supreme Court justice, he may be smarter than the average folk, but he's on the dumb end of Supreme Court justice.
He's on the dumb end of like the level of power that he's at.
Oh, what about Brett Kavanaugh? Like, how would you rate him compared to like Brett Kavanaugh?
That guy's
Because that guy's
a frat boy.
Frat boy, you idiot. I mean, listen, they have to have a certain level of intelligence to get where they got, right?
They have to have retained information about the law.
Which doesn't actually, you know what? I've decided that does not make you smart. Knowledge doesn't make you smart.
Not at all.
So,
knowledge just makes you knowledgeable.
Yeah.
It's what you do with knowledge that determines whether you're smart or not.
Yeah.
Like, look at you, Scott.
Idiot.
No, I disagree. No one has done so much with so little knowledge
Wait
as
a
you.
minute. Yeah.
You want to get into the book?
I guess. I don't know. Did we talk about everything?
We didn't talk about the manatee that got fucked to death, but people can go look it up.
Wait. Hold that thought, because
Yeah.
you could probably segue that into something that's probably going to happen in what we're reading tonight.
Probably someone's gonna get fucked. Well, remember, like Yahweh was gonna punish the wives by having them like fuck like in
shit.
public,
Yeah.
probably to death.
What are we reading tonight?
We're starting with 2 Samuel 14.
Oh, right. I'll kick it off, man. Absalom returns to Jerusalem.
Give people a chance to open up their Bibles to 2 Samuel 14. We'll wait, everybody.
We should have like a built-in pause,
Like a built-in
because
pause.
like when people like if we decide like to go right into it, people scramble for their Bibles. So now they're
Right.
not hearing it; they're already
Right.
behind. They're going to a page, and then they have to know what's coming, because even if we say, "Oh, by the way, go get your Bibles," they're gonna still jump up. So like it should be almost like a known thing that will have a built-in pause.
You know what we should do? We should have like a fucking Google Meet where like we put like everybody, like we make sure they're all sitting like at a desk with like the Bible open in front of them, like a class, as we're reading it. Probably not.
I don't care if they're driving or not.
I just want to scold people.
Yeah, who's gonna show their face on to this
Soy
one?
boy.
Well, yeah.
He'll be like out walking in the woods, like on shrooms.
We're going to get right back to the show, but before we do, we'd like to invite you to come visit our Patreon.
Each week, we discuss a new topic at the intersection of society and religion.
We explore the encroachment of religion onto secular institutions, such as schools, workplaces, and government.
In addition, we'll investigate whether religion practices what it preaches.
So, after this episode, head on over to patreon.com/Libel to Bible and join in the conversation.
And now, back to the show.
Yeah.
All right, 2 Samuel 14.
Absalom returns to Jerusalem. Is Absalom the one that fucked his sister?
I don't even remember.
I don't remember either. Probably. Even if he wasn't, he should have to register too. Now Joab, son of Zeruiah, perceived that the king's mind was on Absalom. Joab sent to Tekoa and brought from there a wise woman. He said to her, "Pretend to be a mourner. Put on mourning garments, and do not anoint yourself with oil, but behave like a woman who has been mourning many days for the dead. Go to the king and speak to him as follows." And Joab put the words into her mouth. Okay, so
A little trickery is about to occur.
So Joab, son of Zeruiah, checks out David, the king, right? He's in a mood. He's thinking about his son that went away. Why did he go away? Because I think he's the rapist.
Because God's like looking for him, man. He's on the lamb from God, from Yahweh.
You can do that? You can hide from God?
Yeah.
All right. So now he wants to scam the king. I'm hoping it's like to put him in a good mood, right? He's like, this is like his boy. He wants to cheer him up. So he's gonna have this woman pretend to be mourning.
Well, Joab's like he's like that super loyal dude, right? That like ruined all chance of like a truce with that other tribe. Remember that?
That was him?
Yeah.
All
He
right.
pursued the other guy. He didn't trust them.
Yeah. Rightfully so. I know those people.
If you say so.
When the woman of Tekoa came to the king, she fell on her face to the ground and did obeisance and said, "Help, O king." The king asked her, "What is your trouble?" She answered, "Alas, I am a widow. My husband is dead. Your servant had 2 sons, and they fought with one another in the field. There was no one to part them, and one struck the other and killed him. Now the whole family has risen against your servant. They say, 'Give up the man who struck his brother, so that we may kill him for the life of his brother whom he murdered, even if we destroy the heir as well.' Thus they would quench my one remaining ember and leave to my husband neither name nor remnant on the face of the earth."
Is this like something to do with him? Like, why is this like supposed to trigger him?
I don't know if this is why this is supposed to trigger him, but I'll say this: she went all in on this. She didn't she had her backstory ready. Like, why are you mourning? Oh, my husband died.
Well, that's
like,
what
she was
Joab
prepared for,
whispered into her ear.
I know, but it's nice that they thought about like the king might ask for details, and they were prepared for this.
No, I think she's just saying what Joab whispered into her ear.
Well, all right. Well, Joab, I'm saying, like, thought to have like a whole background story.
Yes, definitely.
So now let's get this right. So the husband.
But my question is, Scott,
What-
why? Like, Joab knew that this story was going to affect David in such a way. So why did he choose like 2 brothers fighting in particular, and one of the brothers killing the other brother? And now that brother is like in danger of being like killed by the mob who wants vengeance. And the mom is like, you know, like, one son's already dead. Now they want to kill my other son.
right.
So like, why that story?
Did Absalom leave because he was fighting with his brother?
Yes, it was the brother that ratted him out to fucking David that he fucked the sister. There you go.
So maybe she's trying to say, yo, you see how shit will fucking come to a head and everybody ends up
Yes.
dead?
So-
Maybe you need to, like,
So that's
do
what
something
Joab
about
is
this.
doing. Okay.
All right. Then the king said to the woman, "Go to your house, and I will give orders concerning you." The woman of Tekoa said to the king, "On me be the guilt, my lord the king, and on my father's house. Let the king and his throne be guiltless." The king said, "If anyone says anything to you, bring him to me, and he shall never touch you again." Then she said, "Please, may the king keep the Lord your God in mind, so that the avenger of blood may kill no more, and my son not be destroyed." He said, "As the Lord lives, not one hair on your son shall fall to the ground."
And then after she left, Luca Brazzi came in, and he said, "And may your first child be a masculine child."
I think me and you would be engaged better with each other
Mm-hmm.
if I just watched the Godfather movies at this point. Like I get the references.
It's like the very opening scene. It's like the first scene when he's like meeting with people and they're all requesting things. So like she's like there, he's the king.
So let's hear this story.
It's all right.
So now-
People get it. People in the audience have seen The Godfather.
So she goes to him, says, "My husband's dead," right? And your servant had 2 sons. So her sons, or her husband's sons, get into a fight. One kills the other. A crowd's like, "Let's go get the other guy," right?
It's justice.
So then he would have no heirs. So she's like upset, like, if that son gets killed, my husband's legacy is gone. So the king's like, "Go to the house. I'm going to take care of this.
And no one is going to touch you.
No one's going to touch you. I'm going to protect your son." But
Right.
all right, so that's where we stand, right?
Yeah.
So
He's offering her his protection. All you had to do was come to me. But you thought the law was going to take care of you. But where's the law now?
I was thinking that, yeah. Then the woman said, "Please, let your servant speak a word to my lord the king." He said, "Speak." The woman said, "Why then have you planned such a thing against the people of God? For in giving this decision, the king convicts himself, inasmuch as the king does not bring his banished one home again." Wait a minute.
Now she's talking about his son, the banished
She's
son.
segueing into okay.
I think now, like, I like what she did before, but now, like, it's not as subtle anymore.
Yeah, like she.
I think she's gonna tip him off.
Yeah, this seems like it's
Clunky.
planned now. Yeah,
It's clunky.
We must all die. We are like water spilled on the ground, which cannot be gathered up. I haven't heard of sponges. But God will not take away a life. He will devise. But God will not take away a life. Winner for the best line yet. He will devise plans so as not to keep an outcast banished forever from his presence. Now I have come to say this to my lord the king, because the people have made me afraid. Your servant thought, I will speak to the king. It may be that the king will perform the request of his servant. For the king will hear and deliver his servant from the hand of the man who would cut both me and my son off from the heritage of God. Your servant thought, the word of my lord the king will set me at rest. For my lord the king is like the angel of God, discerning good and evil. The Lord your God be with you. Dude, I don't know what's going on now.
She's
When she makes it say, your servant will say, she's talking about herself, right? Like,
Yes.
she's the servant.
yes. She's asking him to be godly and to make godly decisions and to make wise decisions and how great he is. And so she's like trying to make him do the right thing in terms of his son.
So wait a minute. So back then, back in those days, you could just put on like some fake black clothes, pretend to mourn to get an audience with the king, and then do like fucking lobbyist shit with him? Thank you, my lord, for protecting me. Now, can you protect the fishermen from the guys down at the dock? Like, what is this?
I guess so.
I guess so.
There was like block of cheese day in the White House. I think like Andrew Jackson or someone put out like a block of cheese, and like people could like come in and like get a like cheese for like food and like ask the president like shit.
Oh, all right. But that sounded like it was planned. She kind of got in here on false pretenses, and he should be seeing
Well, Joab got her in.
Then the king answered the woman, do not withhold from me anything I ask you. Uh-oh. The woman said, let my lord the king speak. The king said, is the hand of Joab with you in all of this? You're right. She totally tipped her hand.
I mean, come on. She went too far.
Well, I'm surprised that anybody in the Bible was smart enough to realize that she went too far.
Why? These are like, these people are crafty.
The woman answered and said, as surely as you live, my lord the king, one cannot turn right or left from anything that my lord the king has said. For it was your servant Joab who commanded me. It was he who put all these words into the mouth of your servant.
She's snitching, yo.
Quick.
She didn't even be like, nah, what are you talking about?
In order to change the course of affairs, your servant Joab did this. But my Lord has wisdom like the wisdom of the angel of God to know all things that are on the earth. So she's like, yeah, she snitches him out.
She's still playing him.
But she's also saying, but he did it for the right reasons. And then, by the way, you're just awesome and wise. Like, now she's buttering him up.
Yeah. She's still playing him.
Then the king said to wait, is Joab in the room when he's like, yo, did he put you up to this?
Apparently so. Joab's like tugging on his collar in the corner. He's like, Ixnay on the no way. Ixnay.
Because even trying to do the right thing in these times will get you killed. Then the king said to Joab,
in these times, by these times you mean the past 4,000 years?
very well, I grant this. Go bring back the young man Absalom. Wow, he put it all together, huh? Joab prostrated himself with his face to the ground and did obeisance and blessed the king. And Joab said, today your servant knows that I have found favor in your sight, my lord the king, in that the king has granted the request of his servant. So Joab set off, went to Geshur, and brought Absalom to Jerusalem. The king said, let him go to his own house. He is not to come into my presence. So Absalom went to his own house and did not come into the king's presence. All right, so Joab's either a good advisor or a good friend / advisor to the king.
But why is it necessary for this kid to come back? He's got other kids. David?
Yeah, but because the story started with he knew that the king was preoccupied thinking about him. So.
Oh, okay.
And I like the fact that he brought him back, but still, I ain't talking to your ass. Stay the fuck away from me.
It wouldn't be easier to just like hire some hookers and like clear the king's mind that way? Like he had to like go through this whole elaborate plot?
No, the last time somebody forced themselves on somebody and had, what would you call it last week? Post-ejaculate clarity? He tossed her out. He was like disgusted with her. So he'd be with the prostitute. He would toss her out. Then he'd probably take Absalom even
right.
more.
Fair. Good point.
So, yeah.
David forgives Absalom.
Oh, okay. Good. That didn't take long.
Now, in all Israel, there was no one to be praised so much for his beauty as Absalom. From the sole of his foot. Gross. The sole of his foot. Like, even like, all right, say the top of his foot, like maybe, I guess, but the sole of your foot? Come on.
Do you think there's a group of freaks out there that have like the stone tablets of just chiseled feet pictures?
100.
Like just foot fetish
100%.
tablets?
100%. Yo, let me borrow that tablet tonight, bro. Nah, I'm just doing research.
What's that stickies? I just put some butter spilled on it.
From the sole of his foot to the crown of his head, there was no blemish in him. When he cut the hair of his head, for at the very end of every year he used to cut it. When it was heavy on him, he cut it.
Mention that's in parentheses, so somebody added that shit afterwards.
He weighed the hair of his head, 200 shekels by the king's weight. There were born to Absalom 3 sons and 1 daughter, whose name was Tamar. She was a beautiful woman.
Stop. Wasn't a shekel was like a form of money, right?
Yeah.
So we're gonna say,
But it's also a weight, I guess.
It had to be okay. So it had to be at least the
It
weight.
makes sense that the
weight of
money
the
would be a
coin.
weight, yeah.
We're gonna assume they're equal, the weight and the coin. Yeah. His hair weighed 200 of those. I don't care how small the coins are. That had to weigh a lot, no?
Because he was a dirty motherfucker. That's not just his hair. That's like all... He didn't cut his hair for a year. You know what else he didn't do for a year? Probably bathe or shampoo or like any of that.
But he was beautiful without blemishes.
In fairness, I stopped shampooing. I don't shampoo anymore. I used to shampoo like once a week. I don't shampoo anymore.
You just wash it?
I just wash it,
Soap
yes.
or just water? No soap
Just
at all?
water. Nothing in my hair.
I have to say I haven't used shampoo in probably 25 or so years. So.
Yeah. I mean, you look like it. You look like you haven't shampooed.
To those of you who don't know, I'm shaved bald for most of my adult life.
And adolescent life.
Yeah.
So Absalom lived 2 full years in Jerusalem without coming into the king's presence. Then Absalom... What was the point of talking about how, like, attractive he was?
I don't know.
It was like it set you up. Like, he was the most attractive man from head to foot, no blemishes. And he had 3 kids. And he lived in Jerusalem for 2 years. It's like...
You know what? I'll tell you this. I'm glad they're describing his beauty. And just, like, putting, like, his physical attributes. Because we hear that shit about women all the time.
Man, they're just trying to indoctrinate you. Don't you see
And
what's
the
going on?
The men never get the treatment. Let's make him a sex object.
They're indoctrinating him.
Make him a sex object.
So Absalom lived 2 full years in Jerusalem without coming into the king's presence. Then Absalom sent for Joab to send him to the king, but Joab would not come to him. He sent a second time, but Joab would not come. Then he said to his servants, "Look, Joab's field is next to mine, and he is barely there. Go and set it on fire."
Oh, shit.
Well, that thing's escalated quickly. Like, wouldn't there be like an in-between step?
Yeah, like, how about a warning?
Like, or you go and like yell at Joab and be like, "Who do you think you are?" You know what I mean? And then if he ignores you, then maybe set his field on fire.
Yeah.
I don't know. It seems like, it's mercurial. So Absalom's servants set the field on fire. Then Joab rose and went to Absalom at his house and said to him, "Why have your servants set my field on fire?" So, like, what? He didn't care? Like, they didn't care to cover their tracks? Like, it was just out in the open? Like,
Yeah, I guess
did he
you're right.
want him to know?
I guess so. I mean, it's right next to his field. The servants were probably kind of dumb. They did it in broad daylight.
Absalom answered Joab, "Look, I sent word to you. Come here that I may send you to the king with the question, why have I come from Geshur? It would be better for me to be there still. Now let me go into the king's presence. If there is guilt in me, let him kill me."
Easy guy.
Then Joab went to the king and told him, and he summoned Absalom. So he came to the king and prostrated himself with his face to the ground before the king, and the king kissed Absalom.
Kiss of death.
Wait,
probably.
it was like a Michael Corleone kissing Fredo kiss. I knew it was you, Fredo. You broke my heart.
Do you think when Absalom said to Joab, "Yo, man, I've been calling you," and he looked at his phone and was like, "Oh, man, it's been on silent. Sorry, man."
Nah, he was like, "New phone, who this?"
Thanks for burning down my field because I didn't answer the phone. Yeah. So what do you think of that?
What do I think of what? The phone? The
Oh,
phone
they're
bit?
burning down the field, man.
Like I said, I
seems
gave you my
extreme.
thoughts on it. It was
Yeah,
a
you
step
did.
too far.
All right.
2 Samuel 15.
Yeah. Absalom usurps the throne.
Usurps.
Usurps. What did I say?
Usurps.
I will continue to say usurps.
All right.
After this,
And I will continue to correct you.
After this, Absalom provided for himself a chariot and horses and 50 men to run ahead of him. How do you provide that for yourself? Paid for it?
It sounds like the Bell Parkway.
And by the way, this was like at midnight on the Bell Parkway.
By the
Like,
way-
there were kids in e-bikes on the Bell Parkway.
There's a TikTok of like these dudes driving into like Brooklyn from Manhattan on the Brooklyn Bridge, and all of a sudden a guy on a one wheel comes fucking whizzing by on the Brooklyn Bridge. You know one wheels? Have you seen
Yeah,
one wheels?
Yeah.
So he's on a one wheel doing like 50.
I didn't know they went that fast.
No helmet. Yo, it's crazy, man. You hit like a pebble. You are fucking eating pavement.
Yeah, let me just tell one little story about the Brooklyn Bridge. One day I was walking over the Brooklyn Bridge, and I was like, "All right, I'm sorry I'm in the fucking bike lane. You ever been on that bridge?
Yes.
Yo, don't accidentally step into the bike lane
Yes.
even for a split second."
Yes. Well, a lot of bikers, they go out looking to confront people.
Oh, of course, yeah.
And like train people and let people know like this is a bike lane and like yo, there is not a group of people except for maybe audiophiles. You know what an audiophile is?
Someone who really digs like audio fidelity, man.
Yes. There's nothing more annoying because what they talk about is like been scientifically proven to be imperceptible to like human hearing, you know? And they talk about like free. So like when you ask them advice for like headphones, you're like, "Look, man, I just want to buy like a $90 pair of headphones." You're like, "Well, blah, blah, blah." It's like, what are the best? The only people more obnoxious than that are fucking bike riders.
Yeah. So listen, I'm in a bike lane, right? I'm riding a bike the other day, right? In a narrow lane, but it's on a boulevard with a median. And there's a bike lane on each side going in opposite directions with the traffic, right? So now I'm in my bike lane, and I see a man and a woman coming at me in my bike lane. And the bike lane's real narrow, right? So I'm like, I got traffic whizzing by me. And they're supposed to be on the other side of the boulevard, right? So I was like, let me get as far to the right as possible, because that's in America, we drive on the right. So I get to the right. If they want to pass me into oncoming traffic, that's on them. Yo, man, as we got close, the woman ditched in front of me like into a side street to let me pass. And her man... They meant to go forward, but I guess she's like, I'm not going to go have a head-on collision with this guy. Her man starts like giving like a wave over motion. Like, you know, you could move over. Like, he wanted me to get closer to the oncoming traffic to make room for him going in the wrong fucking direction.
No. She's saying people are stupid idiots. Was this like in your neighborhood?
It was.
Well, that's not surprising because the people in your neighborhood are like the hills have eyes.
Well, you know what's funny? They're also patriots. Except they don't know what side of the fucking road you drive on in America.
Yeah. I mean, the people in your neighborhood
just so you know, in defense of people in my neighborhood, my neighborhood is a bike throughway to the beach.
Yes.
So it's like most people out riding bikes in my neighborhood are not from my neighborhood. They're going through.
But you're from your
They're
neighborhood.
running the gauntlet to get to where they're going.
It's like driving through Brentwood. Just don't stop. Don't stop.
Keep it moving. Keep it moving.
That's why. Forget. I was going to say something. I was going to help identify the neighborhood.
Absalom usurps the throne, right? After this, Absalom provided for himself a chariot and horses and 50 men to run ahead of him. Absalom used to rise early and stand beside the road into the gate. And when anyone brought a suit before the king for judgment, Absalom would call out and say, "From what city are you?" When the person said, "Your servant is
From
of
what city are you?
Your servant is of such and such a tribe in Israel."
Such and such a tribe? I've never heard of it.
Absalom would say, "See, your claims are good and right, but there is no one deputed by the king to hear you."
Why isn't it deputized? Why is it deputed?
I don't know. I mean, that's probably the old way of saying it, back in these times. Absalom would also say, "If only I were judge in the land, then all who had a suit or cause might come to me, and I would give them justice." Whenever people came near to do obeisance to him, he would put out his hand and take hold of them and kiss them. Thus Absalom did to every Israelite who came to the king for judgment, so Absalom stole the hearts of the people of Israel.
Not for nothing, but this kid sounds like a real piece of shit.
He's a politician. He's out there meeting the people, greeting the people.
Man,
he's being shady about it.
He's undermining his dad. He's like talking about, if I was the king, like blah blah blah, like.
I like the fact they say such and such. I'm from such. That's great.
Yada yada yada.
That's great. It was back then.
Absalom was the king's favorite son, but he had a beautiful sister. Yada, yada, yada. He went away for a little while, and now he's back.
I told you about the lobster bisque. All right. At the end of 4 years, Absalom said to the king, "Please let me go to Hebron and pay the vow that I have made to the Lord. For your servant made a vow while I lived at Geshur in Aram. If the Lord will indeed bring me back to Jerusalem, then I will serve the Lord in Hebron."
By the way, that word, Hebron, it might be Hebron because Hebrew.
I'm down with that.
Plus, you want to say Heb. I know what goes on in that mind. Go ahead.
I'll tell you what I don't want.
I give you permission.
I'll tell you what I don't want to do. I don't want to pronounce it properly.
Fair.
The king said to him, "Go in peace." So he got up and went to Hebron. But Absalom sent secret messengers throughout all the tribes of Israel, saying, "As soon as you hear the sound of the trumpet, then shout, 'Absalom has become king at Hebron.'" 200 men from Jerusalem went with Absalom. They were invited guests, and they went in innocence, knowing nothing of the matter. While Absalom was offering the sacrifices, he sent for Ahithophel, the Gilonite, David's counselor, from his city Gilo. The conspiracy grew in strength, and the people with Absalom kept increasing.
See? He's building a little cabal to overthrow the fucking king, his dad.
So he politicked near the king. Anybody want to see the king? He handed out flyers and he pushed for himself. And people in Hebron must start really having like a real good grassroots movement for him. So he goes there as the first place he's going to take hold, right? Something like that.
You know what he's doing, man? He's trying to trump this election. He's like gathering a little cabal of people. He's going to start calling the elections people and fucking this place. Who did he get? Who's the guy from? The Gilonite from Gilo. He's calling the mayor Gilo. He's like, "You're going to have to find me 200 more votes."
Yeah. Did you even hear of Gilonite before this?
Nah.
They're just making places up now. There's no new places. There can't be new places. What, new places just get built?
Never.
All right, man.
David flees from Jerusalem. A messenger came to David saying, "The hearts of the Israelites have gone after Absalom." Then David said to all his officials who were with him at Jerusalem, "Get up, let us flee, or there will be no escape for us from Absalom. Hurry, or he will soon overtake us and bring disaster down upon us and attack the city with the edge of the sword." All right, let me ask you a question. Is there they had no idea that any of this was going on? This is a shock to them.
No, they absolutely did, because he sent secret messengers around to find out if this is what's going to happen. He saw this coming.
David saw this coming.
That's why he
so
sent
then
the
why is
messages.
this happening last minute?
He had a whole code set up. When shout when you hear the trumpet, it means he's the king. Let me know. Blah blah blah. No, this is their go plan.
The king's official said to the king, "Your servants are ready to do whatever our lord the king decides." So the king left, followed by all his household, except 10 concubines whom he left behind to look after the house. The king left. I mean, that's weird. The king left, followed by all the people, and they stopped at the last house. All his officials passed by him, and all the Cherethites, and all the Pelethites, and all the 600 Gittites who had followed him from Gath passed on before the king. What's at this house?
Okay, wait a minute.
Is he stopping to
Is
rest?
this the reason why, like, advocates of the Second Amendment will say, see? Oh, no, they won't because they don't realize what the Second Amendment's really for. How come nobody, said, let's squash this fucking uprising?
I don't know why they allowed it to fester for as long as they did. Like, does he have advisors?
Is the army not behind him still?
It's Yahweh, man. Yahweh's pulling all the strings. But he's not, as active this time around, you know? Like, we're not hearing a lot about Yahweh.
Are you cool enough?
Yeah.
So, yeah. We're not
Oh,
hearing
you
about
meant,
that.
temperature-wise.
Yeah,
I thought
yeah.
you meant, emotionally and just, in general.
No, I
Like,
just wanted to show the
am I
evidence go
cool
off.
enough? And it's I think I'm pretty fucking cool.
You're a cool fucking guy, man. Not as cool as that shirt you're wearing, though. So Rusty's wearing a shirt that says Grumpy on it with a one of the 7 dwarfs.
Grumpy.
The one named Grumpy. I thought he looked familiar. Yeah. So, all right. So he ran.
Then the king said to Ittai the Gittite, "Why are you also coming with us? Go back and stay with the king, for you are a foreigner and also an exile from your home. You came only yesterday, and shall I today make you wander about with us while I go wherever I can? Go back and take your kinfolk with you, and may the Lord show steadfast love and faithfulness to you." Yeah, that's pretty nice. I mean, yeah.
I don't understand this. Then the king said to this guy, "Go back and stay with the king."
Yeah.
Because he's he's just giving up that easy. He's just like, "Oh, Absalom has it."
Yeah.
All right.
It's like when the president flees his palace, in Africa, because the military junta is about to take over. He's given up.
All right.
Or at the very least, he's moving his monarchy somewhere else.
Yeah. Which is what this sounds like. He sounds like he's taking his cabinet with him.
But Ittai answered the king, "As the Lord lives, and as my lord the king lives, wherever my lord the king may be, whether for death or for life, there also your servant will be." David said to Ittai, "Go then, march on." So Ittai the Gittite marched on, with all his men and all the little ones who were with him. The whole country wept aloud as all the people passed by. The king crossed the Wadi Kidron, and all the people moved on toward the wilderness.
Okay, so I'm not trusting Ittai, man. You got there yesterday, and you got this crazy loyalty right now. I'm going. Wait, imagine walking in somewhere. There's a fucking coup, and you take the side of the guy you met yesterday,
No.
not the guy that's coming with the army.
No.
Yeah,
Even Donnie Brasco had to stay with the crew for years and years and years, you know?
Yeah.
And by the way, the bigger question is this. He arrived yesterday. Why would King David even know who this guy is? In one day, he made such an impression on everyone. They were like, yo, King David, you have to meet this guy. He just arrived. He just flew in, and boy, are his arms tired.
Just that guy I was telling you about from over there.
So,
Yeah.
Abiathar came up, and Zadok also, with all the Levites, carrying the Ark of the Covenant of God. Oh, shit. So they're fleeing with the Ark?
What the hell?
First of all, why would they need to flee if they have the Ark? Yo,
Maybe they don't have the Ark. Maybe they haven't told us yet. Maybe this is Absalom's guys now have the Ark.
Abiathar
And they're coming at David with it.
or fucking God is not with them. Yahweh's not with them. So the Ark is just doesn't mean anything because the power of God's not there. God hasn't recharged it. He's let the battery run. run out.
Wait,
Abiathar.
where is the ark at this point? Last time I heard the ark, like people were getting sick for it, so he stuffed it in some guy's house. We don't even know where the ark is.
Abiathar came up, and Zadok also, with all the Levites, carrying the ark of the covenant of God. They set down the ark of God until the people had all passed out of the city. Then the king said to Zadok, "Carry the ark of God back into the city. If I find favor in the eyes of the Lord, he will bring me back and let me see both it and the place where it stays. But if he says, 'I take no pleasure in you,' here I am, let him do to me what seems good to him." The king also said to priest Zadok, "Look, go back to the city in peace, you and Abiathar, with your 2 sons, Ahimaaz, your son, and Jonathan, son of Abiathar. See, I will wait at the fords of the wilderness until word comes from you to inform me." So Zadok and Abiathar carried the ark of God back to Jerusalem, and they remained there. Notice how they're not like the guy that just arrived. They're not like, no, we're going to be... They're like, all right, see you later. We'll just take this powerful weapon with us. See ya.
David's probably pretty smart here because this ark has been nothing but trouble. It's killing me. He's like, yo, leave that for him.
Oh, so he's devious.
Yeah. He's like leaving a landmine out there.
But David went up the ascent of the Mount of Olives, weeping as he went, with his head covered and walking barefoot. I bet you his feet aren't as sexy as his sons.
No, whose could be?
And all the people who were with him covered their heads and went up, weeping as they went. David was told that Ahithophel was among the conspirators with Absalom. And David said, "Oh Lord, I pray you, turn the counsel of Ahithophel into foolishness."
The Trump administration.
Do-do-do.
Okay, I
so
understand.
he wants his son to get bad advice from this guy.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Make it a clown court.
Yeah. Kangaroo court.
No, not even a kangaroo
clown court. Oh shit.
I understand you got usurped. How come you got no shoes, man? You were the king like 5 minutes ago. You don't have shoes.
It was a fast fall from grace, man.
Wow. Hushai becomes David's spy.
It's like a Tom and Jerry cartoon, you know, like when Tom thinks he's in trouble and like he immediately digs like a grave and like a headstone and like lies down in it with like flowers, you know. That's what David did. He's like, well, guess I'm not king anymore. Like he threw off like everything.
People were like, what the hell's up with David, man? You don't know this panicking fuck. If you were a Jedi, you'd be panicking Skywalker. Hushai becomes David's spy. When David came to the summit, where God was worshipped, Hushai the Archite came to meet him with his coat torn and earth on his head. David... What's up, Atlas? David said to him, "If you go on with me, you will be a burden to me. But if you turn to the city and say to Absalom, 'I will be your servant, O king, as I have been your father's servant in time past, so now I will be your servant,' then you will defeat for me the counsel of Ahithophel. The priests Zadok and Abiathar will be there with that's all, folks." Yeah, they'll be with you there. "So whatever you hear from the king's house, tell it to the priests Zadok and Abiathar. Their 2 sons are with them there, Zadok's son Ahimaaz and Abiathar's son Jonathan. And by them you shall report to me everything you hear." So Hushai, David's friend, came into the city just as Absalom was entering Jerusalem.
I'm sure Hushai is going to get all that information and totally not get like killed by anyone with this brilliant plan.
Right. So he's safely out. He's up a mountain, and Absalom's just entering Jerusalem.
Yeah.
Nice. I wonder how he's walking in, man.
Confidently?
What song do you think he's playing?
Or is he like clandestinely? He's like sneaking into town.
This is public.
Are there guards at the gate?
Not anymore. They probably
are there gates, or did Samson steal them?
Samson was here. So was Red. All right.
What do you think, Scott? You want to do another chapter?
How many chapters did we just do?
We did 2.
This next one's pretty short.
Is
How
it?
you feeling? We can wait.
Yeah, let's wait.
Oh, this is a pretty big moment. Yeah. Hey,
That's a
knock
good
it off, man. I got
cliffhanger.
excited, man. Got excited. All right, that's a good cliffhanger. All right. So, what song do you think he's marching into, man?
When the saints go marching
Maybe
in.
make a poll question, man.
What song?
Oh no, it'd have to be like you'd have to come up with the song names. I'd rather they could freestyle the song names. So that not good for a poll, man.
We should have a poll about what poll we should have. But then we'd have to think of like things to put in the poll. We can't even think of one thing to put in the poll. We're gonna think of like 5 things.
Yeah, that's not gonna work out for us,
Yeah.
man. That's cool.
Yeah, we're idiots. What are you gonna do? You know, we're not 2 idiots and a dog, though. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, how they doing?
I have no idea.
You want to stop by and visit them?
Not at all.
All right.
All right, everybody. I'm tired. I'm done.
I'm Scott.
And we will see you the next time.
All right. Later.
Peace.